So we brought in the attendees and we are now leaving live streaming. So as soon as it's 4, we are good to go, Madam Mayor.
Okay. I'll get myself organized. All right, it is 4 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the first motion is moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Tom Dewey, that the agenda for the special council meeting of being held July the 20th, 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
No, Madam Mayor.
No, from Cindy. No.
So as presented, all those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Seeing none, we will note that in the minutes. And staff report. We are here to talk about CP Rail Notice of Rehabilitation Work at the rail crossing Road 38 at Titchburn. So I think maybe the best way to start is Tyson, if you'd like to lead us into this, and then we'll ask Corey to talk to us about what's happening.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. We were approached by CP Rail at the mid-June or mid-July with the information that Corey brought it to our attention that the rail crossing, the grade level crossing at Titchburn on Road 38 is in need of an emergency repair project, and we are here to hear Corey to present, to just show council what the costs are going to be, what the impact is going to be to the community, and to get all the info from CP and open up all lines of communication to make sure if this project does go through, it's executed safely and with the most minimal impact to our budget, since it is not budgeted item. That's why we're all here to discuss that today. So I think I'd like for Corey to present to our council exactly what's happening. And we've all made ourselves available for any questions.
Okay. Corey, do you want to start from there?
Yeah, sure. We'll be attempting to take out the track itself as we have surface defects within the crossing of Highway 38 that we need to tend to. And the crossing surface itself is what we state as a Stella Jones prefabricated timber crossing. They're bonded together by pieces of steel and not really adequate for the amount of transportation that travels over the crossing. The siding has held up very well with that, but that's due to the lack of the tonnage that we put over the siding at a higher rate of speed. The main line track actually has 60-mile-per-hour track or 60-mile-per-hour trains go over it, as well as the trucks and stuff coming down Highway 38 facing south, going into the crossing, and any water flow and stuff like that that goes down into the track irritates the subgrade in our ballast and makes the track unstable. While the track's unstable and the trains go across it, it actually affects the superstructure underneath the crossing surface. So over the spring thaw, the winter that we noted last year in the late November, December, that the Stella was starting to deteriorate. So we ended up taking out some of them and repairing them so that they would hold together a little bit better. But the repairs that we made to the pre-existing panels that are in the track aren't holding up due to the lack of subgrade underneath the road surface. So in means of repair, we'll have to take the Stella Jones that's in there out and replace the track itself. So our ties, our rail, replace all the sub ballast and put new ballast in. After the track panel itself is reinstalled, we will be installing a concrete prefabricated panel. They're 9 feet long and they're fitted to the track. They're designed to accommodate our whole track surface. Once that has been installed, it'll hold up much better for the heavier traffic that travels over it on both sides, the road and the rail. And we'll be paving between the mainline track and the siding to reinstate the asphalt in between the two tracks, as well as reinstating the asphalt on the south side of the concrete out as far as we need to try and accommodate the design of the road, so we don't end up with too much of a bump as it is a major highway. I'll leave the floor open from there.
Okay, questions from council? We also have with us the fire chief, and I saw Marty coming in from the OPP. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. This construction project you're describing here, what are we looking at for a time frame? How long are you talking about?
We'll need the road closed for a minimum of 3 days to accommodate the work and the surfacing that we have to do on the track in order to make sure that the track is stable and can withstand the track and the road traffic prior to putting the concrete back in. Usually for a day, panel, reinstall the panel, and then second day we do another what's called center pack, which just increases the stability of the track itself. And then the following day we install our concrete and usually pave on the third day so that everything's done within a 3-day period.
Madam Mayor, it looks like Philip has got his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Philip.
So I think this crossing was changed a while ago as well, and there was a proposed closing for a few days at that time as well. But there was a temporary road put around the last time we did this. Fran, you may recall as well when we did that we didn't end up closing the highway while the work was taking place. There was a temporary crossing created. Is that something that's possible again this time? Seeing that we're looking for 3 days of work to happen?
I'm not sure how we would accommodate that, where the location would be, but it would be privy to me. So unless I was able to, maybe if there was any previous plans drawn up that would state where the additional road was installed for that period of time, if anybody's got anything that could kind of give me some guidance on where it was installed, I'm sure if it was a situation that was done before, we should be able to achieve the same again, as long as everything works.
Mm-hmm.
Philip,
Philip
was
would
it
have been at the
into the
time when
yard?
Mike Richardson was on as the Public Works Manager. Do you remember, Philip?
Who, myself?
No,
No,
I think it would have been Mike, but I think it was simply just like a 1-lane crossing, kind of to the west of where the current crossing is. Like
Yeah, I
it was
think I remember that. Yes.
At that time, do you remember if there was the gates and stuff installed there? Because on the western corner now, it would be hard to achieve the availability to allow an additional lane to come down there with the bungalow and the signals and stuff that are in place now.
I don't quite remember either, Philip.
Yeah, on the northwest corner of that crossing, there's a bungalow now there, and there's a larger mast that supplies the lights for the crossing. And I'm not sure if we'd be able to achieve, we might be able to achieve 1 lane there, but I doubt we'd be able to get like a 2-lane idea going there.
Even if we could get 1 lane, it would save a lot of people a lot of extra miles, because the detour to get around there probably is, what's the guess, 15, 20 kilometers one way?
Yes, I've tried to do it both ways, and I realize that it is not a very nice detour.
Yeah, plus you've got the ambulance on the far side, you've got OPP, all kinds of issues for 3 days of closure.
Get down. Get down.
Bill, go ahead.
Yes, I find it hard to believe that CP couldn't accommodate at least a single lane on this, because CP must be doing projects in much higher volume areas. If you were doing this in downtown Toronto, would you close a street in downtown Toronto for 3 days to do repairs instead of doing like half and half? Do one side and then do the other half?
Yes, we would, because unfortunately, when we install the track panel, I cannot install half of a panel. I have to install the full panel, or I end up with a joint in the middle of the tracks, which creates an issue. When we install that panel, it installs the rail from one end to the next with seamless, no joints. And if there's a joint in the center of the tracks, there's the chance that that joint could fail and we'd have to end up ripping the crossing apart again. So in doing the full rehabilitation, we actually install one seamed piece of rail from one end of the crossing to the other to alleviate from any issues within the crossing itself.
Okay, I understand that. So,
Okay, Tom?
Thank you, Worship. Corey, you said 3 days now. Will you be working? Can they do a lot of this work at nighttime, or is in that 3 days is some of that work being done over the night period? Or are you only working during daylight hours?
And my crews work from 6 till 2. My service from 6 till 4, and getting any additional overtime would have to be put through my direct boss.
Now, with regards to the cost in this, like, is CP picking up part of the cost on this?
No, it's 100% municipal funded. I supplied Tyson with the written agreement that was made with the municipality that specifies the allocations to the cost.
And just to speak to that issue, I was always under the impression that we pay maintenance, but in my mind, this is more than maintenance. This is construction.
Right.
So I guess I would question why CP wouldn't be paying a portion of it to construct the base when we look after the maintenance.
Yeah.
The only thing I can state is when a road has been changed to a highway, what happens is the municipality takes onus for it due to that the railway was there privy to the road itself. So from what I've seen in the past and understood from what I've been spoken with to my boss and a couple of the other lads I work with, that I set out that if the road has been upgraded to a highway, the municipality takes ownership for it. It's the same thing that you guys have at Crow Lake Road. It's approximately our mile 34.89. As far as any allocations and how they were made or how they're made, I can't speak to that without having outside counsel to speak to myself.
Nikki, you've got your hand up, and then Tyson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Corey, when were you anticipating doing this work? Would it be before school starts? Because adding the congestion of detouring buses would be a complete disaster, I think.
In speaking with Tyson, I did discuss with him that I was trying to do this before school is back, so that we didn't have to impede as many things as we were going to. I realized it's going to be an inconvenience for emergency services, but if we can alleviate the school board and the buses, that was something I was trying to accommodate. We were discussing possibly the week of August 22nd, but that was only in discussion with Tyson.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Tyson?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Corey. I've got a few questions. I'll ask them one at a time. Is CP Rail considering this an emergency that needs to be done in 2022? Are you open to meeting on site to discuss the possibility of a one lane, like temporary road built out of fine stone dust, gravel, and road plates to keep one lane of traffic going through that crossing during construction instead of a detour? Are you open to a site meeting to look at that?
Most certainly, and we would have to use like a railway grade material. I can't just lay down ballast or rock or anything in between the rails. So if that's something we were going to try and achieve, I could make sure that we could accommodate that most certainly. I can even take the panels using and temporarily install them at the location to allow the road to be used. And then once we go to transfer the road back into place again, I may need a few hours shutdown to transfer the material from one location to the next.
Absolutely. Well, we can meet on site to discuss. Is CP Rail interested in helping our municipality with this, since it's not budgeted and we've only had a few weeks notice, helping us spread the cost out into other budget years?
From what I've been instructed and informed, that it would be something that we would be able to try and work together with to try and spread the amount of money that needs to be paid, so that it wasn't one duration, like one period that it was all due by. We could stretch it and make accommodation time period it needs to be paid.
So like half this year and half
My
next year?
final question, and
Sorry, Tyson.
Yes, our finance department would be involved and would assist with that for sure.
my
ahead,
final
Tyson.
question and comment is, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
My final
Yes.
question and comment is that Corey explained to us that this became such a last minute decision because of the situation he was left in by his predecessor. That's the reason why there's such little planning and such little notice. And what are we looking at for the next 5 years, Corey? I mean, we here in the road, as a road authority, we have like a 1 to 5 year capital reconstruction plan. We have a 5 to 10 year reconstruction plan, and like our public works department's in the process right now of planning out all our projects for the next immediate projects. We're actually doing the engineering for them right now and next year for 2023 and 2024. When can we get a forecast of these? Like $200,000 is not a lot to CP Rail, but to us, that's a big portion of our budget. When are we going to have access to some kind of a forecast for the next 5 years so we can start planning properly?
That's fair. The next 10 years, you guys shouldn't have a problem. The stuff that we're using now is designed to hold for a minimum of 10 years. So it can surpass that time frame, but it is designed to withhold 10 years worth of service from road and rail prior to needing any repairs. I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm young. I'll be around. So I will make sure that I'm as informative as I possibly can with everyone to try and make sure we get the advance notice that's required. Like you said, I apologize for the inconvenience that we're situated with now, but it is an unfortunate situation. That's just best I can put it.
Bill?
Yes, through Madam Mayor, Corey, the construction process you're using now, will that cover any huge increases in traffic? Because we're anticipating, because of our building that's going on here, that Road 38 is the main road going down south from here. And we fully expect that the annual or the average daily traffic on that road is going to increase over the next few years. When this project is completed, can we be assured that it will accommodate huge increases in traffic and size of vehicles, because we see that happening now?
I cannot say that it's going to 100% hold up. Unfortunately, there's outside factors that could happen, but like I've said there, the 10 years is what we've seen them last. We have crossings that we haven't touched for over 10 years with this new concrete design installed in it. It's a much more rigid structure and normally been using with that prefabricated Stella Jones wooden paneling. So it ideally 10 years should hold up, no problem. I have a highway that's in Belleville that has heavy highway traffic going over it, and we haven't had to touch it since we did it, and that was over 7 years ago when I was working as a trackman.
Okay, Sherry and then Brent.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, my connection is really choppy, so this question may have already been answered. I was just wondering, I was curious as to how, or if Corey would be able to explain how the responsibility falls solely to the municipality.
It's in the agreement. It's in the agreement, Sherry.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't hear all of the questions, sorry.
Okay, Brent, go ahead, and then Jamie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When Tyson was talking to Corey, I heard the number 200,000 batted about. So my question really is, we haven't talked about the price. I'm assuming that if we're able to make a one lane detour around work, and I certainly hope we can, what are we all in for? 200,000, 220,000? Do we have a sense with or without being able to accommodate a one lane?
I have provided Tyson with a quote for the work that we were going to be doing on the track. Anything in addition would have to be discussed and facilitated in addition. I'm more than willing to work with you guys, try and accommodate the suggestions that you've made. A simple site locate or a site meeting and some simple discussion. I'm sure we can mitigate any impact to you guys as well.
But we are looking between 171 and 200,000.
Yes, the quote was issued there, and I believe it states between 170 to 200, I believe.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct. And Madam Mayor, I want to clear to council that any costs for our detour are above and beyond that. And so I'm working with a third party. It's important that council knows myself, Marty McConnell, OPP Detachment Commander, and Chris, our Emergency Services Coordinator. We all met this morning and started hashing out the detour. We've pretty much got it finalized, but we'll be able to get estimates soon on signage and man hours and fuel and everything to get that detour set up. But that will be additional costs to the municipality.
Maybe additional charges for a flagman there as well, because if we're not utilizing the gates that are provided at the crossing, I will have to have somebody there to regulate the flow of trains and stuff as well, to make sure that nobody crosses while we have a train coming into the location.
Okay, Jamie, you had a question?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It wasn't a question. I was just I just wanted to share my knowledge, because I do believe that the last time the work was done on the crossing, there was a detour. It was a single lane detour, and there was traffic lights to allow the flow of traffic. But at that time, I think duration of the work, there was no trains, so there was no need for flagmen or additional people on site. But I just wanted to share that.
Okay. Tom?
Thank you, Worship. Corey, you mentioned to Tyson that we would probably not have any additional costs for 10 years, and I assume that you're just talking about this crossing. Well, we also have the Crow Lake crossing. We got the one in Parham. Are you also saying that there's no work that you expect to be done on those two areas as well in the next 10 years?
No, Crow Lake Road will probably come up within the next 10 years. We just had to install some new plank due to a Transport Canada concern. So we installed all new plank there. And as far as you're talking the Parham crossing?
Right.
I don't think that one, I think that's allocated to CP, I do believe. Pardon me, I'm just stepping aside here for a second to make sure I'm not.
Okay, well, yeah, because those, I mean, because when you said that, I was wondering if you were thinking about those, but you're telling us now that Parham is CP's responsibility? No?
Hold on, I'm just.
He's having a look, Tom.
That was going to be one of my questions, Madam Mayor, I think we have 6 crossings in the municipality, so.
Yeah, so the Long Lake Road, our mile 42.72 is 100% covered by CP. The only 2 crossings that have any implication for municipal funding is the Highway 38 and the Crow Lake Road. All the other ones are covered by CP.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, one more
Madam
comment,
Mayor?
Go
Madam
ahead.
Mayor. I think we should make note in this meeting. Corey has said the Crow Lake is up in the next 10 years. So I'm not sure at what point we want to start budgeting at that, but I think that's important for these minutes today, is whether we start setting aside 50,000 a year or budget for the full 200 to sit there until, because as we have learned this year, we may get a call from Corey and he might want to do it in 4 weeks. So that's
No,
Yep.
Corey's not going to do that again, he said.
Do we
And
have an
now-
unlisted number?
Michael is on, Madam Mayor. I suggest that when Michael is on anyway, that we can make a note for our budget that we do set some money aside each and every year for at least the next 5 years anyway.
Yes, we were already talking about that, and the note is on for the 2023 budget.
Perfect, Michael.
Marty's got
Okay.
his hand up.
And is council recommending, if CP will work with us, that we pay half this year and half next year? Michael, can we afford to do that?
We can afford to do it however Madam Mayor wishes. I think the two options are to pull out of reserves. My preferable option would be to defer it all until 2023 to not withdraw from our reserves and be able to charge the taxpayer appropriately, raise the funds in 2023, if that's possible.
Okay. And how does council feel about that? What direction would you like to take? Bill?
Yes, I think that's probably easier to do especially from a financing perspective, but I also think we have to consider if the committee's going to look at a possibility of a one-way crossing there, there's going to be costs involved there also. So I think council should actually have their input as to whether they agree to that additional cost.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
you have, Chris has got his hand up, so does Cindy and Marty.
Oh, okay. So Chris, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was just going to add to the additional expense for the signage and for possibly an additional crossing there. Obviously, we have to spend that money this year, so I'm just pointing that out. I know Michael's talking about the 200, but then we probably got maybe 20 to 50,000 to have to look at paying for this year just to accommodate it. So just something I wanted to bring up. That's all.
Okay, Marty?
You're muted, Marty.
My apologies. Just a request to the committee, just as soon as we know and we can confirm those dates would be ideal, so we can get out proper messaging to the community and start that communication campaign to the various people that this will be impacted. And myself, Tyson, and Chris spoke along with Steve this morning just on how we can get that messaging out through either social media and other media outlets. So I know we've talked loosely and tentatively about the August 22nd, but as soon as we can get that nailed down and confirmed, I think we want to get that messaging out sooner rather than later. So I can advise obviously my side of the house, but along with Chris, EMS, and other people. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cindy, did you have something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to mention Cindy Kelsey has emailed me. She is on the meeting by phone, but she's muted. So she just wanted me to let everybody know that it will impact mail delivery as well. So
Right. Yes. Okay. Any more questions or comments? Oh, Brent, go ahead.
Just a quick comment in support of what Michael was suggesting, also tying into Chris's comment with regard to the fact that even if we defer the cost of the main project to 23, we still have the upfront costs of dealing with signage and the accommodations for a detour. So I think that what Michael has suggested is probably a good approach, and I would certainly support that.
Okay, so Michael, your approach then was to ask CP to defer this to January for payment?
Yes, to bill us in 2023 with no interest. Thanks for that clarification. That's a really nice one.
Corey, do you think that is a possibility?
you're muted. Sorry, Corey.
You're on mute, Corey?
Yeah, thank you. Great. I will have to speak with the financial department and make sure that they're all on the same page with this as well. It'll only take me 48 hours to see if that's going to be something that would be achievable.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Tyson?
My final comment, Madam Mayor, was just that we're gonna, myself, Marty, Chris, Corey, we're gonna work diligently to try to finalize this plan, these dates, costs, the detour, the signage, and the social media blast. We're gonna try to finalize this week. And if we can't get it out by Friday, we want to get something to social media at least by Monday.
Excellent, because I really think if we can have one lane of traffic, it will slow people down, but it will slow them down a lot more if they have to take the detours that have to go around.
The other thing to consider is the K&P trail crosses at this location as well. So any closure of the road will impact the trail. So I have contacted Richard Allen, he's aware. So we'll need to loop him in with that so they can get the messaging out to the trail community.
Okay, any more questions or comments?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to confirm that our first preferred option is to have at least a single lane crossing temporarily.
Yes.
And when would we know whether that's going to happen or not?
By the end of the week. Tyson, is that true?
I'm available tomorrow and Friday, Corey, to meet. I can be there tomorrow morning at 7:45. So Corey and I will, as long as Corey's okay with it, I can't see why we couldn't make that decision tomorrow or early Friday morning.
So maybe what you could do as soon as you figure that out is have Cindy send that out to council so we know what's happening.
Absolutely.
That would be good. And then you do your social media stuff, but we will be aware ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I have a couple of motions moved by Sherry and seconded by Nikki that council received the presentation from CP Rail regarding the proposed rehabilitation work at Road 38 grade crossing at Titchburn. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Now, the next motion is okay, we'll go with this one. Moved by Nikki and seconded by Bill, that council received the preliminary information from Public Works and Fire Emergency Service staff regarding notification to the public about proposed detour routes and contingency plans for emergency services during construction instead of closure. And further, that any costs incurred by the municipality associated with the road closure, detour, and signage can be incurred through non-competitive contracting under Schedule A of the procurement bylaw on the basis that this is considered an emergency purchase, provided the appropriate staff authorizations are obtained depending on the total acquisition costs. That's just to allow things to happen without them having to come back to council. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And the next motion is moved by Brent and seconded by Victor. Whereas the CP rehabilitation project was not anticipated or budgeted for in the 2022 budget. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorize CP Rail to move forward with the proposed rehabilitation project, but that staff request CP Rail consider a deferral of payment for the costs relating to the work until 2023 without interest to allow the township to budget appropriately for this expenditure in 2023. And further, that if a deferral of payment is not possible, that the treasurer is authorized to pull from reserves the amount estimated by CP Rail to cover the cost. So we don't have to come back to a meeting if for some reason Corey can't negotiate that for us. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, is there anything else anybody wants to say on this issue? Corey, thank you very much for attending and being very upfront and give us the information we needed to make these decisions.
Thank you, Corey.
Madam Mayor, may I just ask one question of Corey before he goes? I'm assuming that this work doesn't qualify for any of the grants programs under Section 12 of the Act?
I don't believe so. Without consulting with our engineer, I'm not 100% sure.
Is there any way, or how's the best way to verify that?
And with our engineer, I would need, I could probably speak to him after the call and get a little bit more information and set some guidance to you after the, probably say tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, if we could get a grant to help us out, that would be fantastic. Great. Okay, so you and Tyson work your magic and make things happen for us. I have a motion moved by Philip and seconded by Victor that bylaw 2022-46, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting held July the 20th, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 20th day of July, 2022, and further that this meeting be adjourned until the 9th of August, 2022, said meeting to be held at Soldiers Memorial Hall, Garrett Street, Charlotte Lake. All those in favor? Motion's carried. 4:36. Thank you all for coming on short notice and dealing with this important issue. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to all the staff too.